give me yang disease. Put a grin on my chin when you come to me, 'cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind, and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in the fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me old. I feed on the fear of the devil inside, of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a soldier and I'm marching on.
I am a warrior, this is my song.
I am a warrior and this is my song. I bask in the glow of the rising war, lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore.
I read you, Lima Charlie, loud and clear.
Welcome, everyone, to Stu and the Nun presents Lima Charlie. The purpose of the series is to spotlight GWAT era and GWAT veterans. This week we have Matt Stryker. Thanks for joining, Matt.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's get an introduction to you. Of course, you're Matt Stryker, but let's kind of talk about what branch you served in, why you chose what you chose, and let's start from there.
Okay. So I spent 7.5 years in. First 4, I was a Cav Scout. The last 3.5, I was a crew chief in the 160th. That was Army. And the reason I chose was the recruiter called me while I was playing not Call of Duty, Medal of Honor. I was playing Medal of Honor, and the recruiter called me. He's like, "Hey, your buddy down the street, is making some money, blowing stuff up." And I was like, "Really? That sounds interesting." He's like, "You could also get a bonus." I'm like, "I also enjoy money. So let's do this."
Nice. So
I mean, that's the funny answer. The real answer is 9/11. So 9/11 happened. Somebody came in our house and messed with our stuff, and we're just getting pointed to, like, these are the guys that did it. Like, these guys did it. We're going to go over there and mess them up. So that's number 2.
Okay. So did you even think about any other branch? Did you think of Marines or Air Force or Navy or anything? No.
I think I thought briefly about Air Force, but at that time, when I was in high school, my GPA was like 2.0, and they were like, Air Force takes the smart kids. I'm like, well, I was a gifted kid, and I got out and I have 2 degrees in aerospace engineering now. But at the time, like, I was a slacker, skateboarder, hacky sack kid that I wasn't, I didn't think that I was Air Force material or that they would take me. So I went with the Army.
So where did you grow up? What part of the country?
I grew up in Western Washington.
Okay. Washington State.
Yeah.
Nice and cold, nice and wet.
It's not super cold. It's wet. Like, it's the climate varies a lot more now. Like, it gets a lot colder and a lot hotter. But yeah, I mean, it's rainy all the damn time. I'm not there now because the weather sucks. But
all right. So you choose the Army.
Yeah.
And you go to basic, and you went to basic at Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Correct.
Cav Scout. What was that like?
You want me to go back through the what the recruiter did and then what happened?
Sure.
All right. So I didn't know that you weren't recording before, and I told the whole story. So you're gonna get like the watered down version of it. But basically, what happened is, at least when I joined, you go and you take the ASVAB, and you do like some initial thoughts on what job you're gonna have. Then you go to MEPS. So when I took the ASVAB, I got a 93. I could have done anything that I wanted to in the Army, and I'm looking through like their pamphlet of available jobs. An Intel analyst is on there. I'm like, man, that's a good choice. I should be an Intel analyst that's smart. I'm not going to be on the front lines. I get out and make money doing that. But I get to MEPS, and they have these DVDs, and the dude's like, you want to be an Intel analyst? That's boring. He pops in the DVD, and it's just like, it's black and white. It's got the most boring Ben Stein notation or narration where they're like, as an Intel analyst, you will look at many different photographs. And the guy's like, this is dumb. You don't want to do that. You want to be a scout. And he pops in the DVD for that. It's HD. There's rock music playing. There's people rolling around on motorcycles and dune buggies shooting Mark 19s, people up in trees with like 50 cal sniper rifles. And like, as a scout, you'll go behind enemy lines, report where there are, call for fire. And it's just basically like, you're going to be the biggest, meanest badass to ever exist. And I was like, yeah. I want to do that. That's way cooler. So I signed up to be a scout. I get to basic. first day they run you through the whole thing where they're screaming at you, yelling at you, unpack your stuff, you repack, you go up in the bays, they smoke you for a while. They take us down to an auditorium, and after some intro from one of the drill sergeants, another drill sergeant comes up, this big black drill sergeant named Drill Sergeant Smith. He comes up, he's like, y'all saw that fucking video, didn't you? All that cool shit up in trees, motorcycles, dune buggies. And everyone's like, who a drill sergeant? He said, you ain't gonna do none of that shit. And he wasn't lying. We didn't do any of that shit. So I got hoodwinked.
So Fort Knox, very similar when you go Cav Scout to infantry, where you do basic and your extended training, your AIT, all in the same place, right?
Yeah,
so you don't even change barracks, do you?
No, it was 9 weeks for basic, and then I think maybe another 6 for the Cav Scout related stuff.
Okay. Where did you did I lose you? Oh, there you are.
No, there we go.
So you graduate basic and AIT. Where was your first duty station?
South Korea. Gary Owen.
South Korea. Nice. What was that like?
It's 2 miles from the DMZ. Like we don't even have that base anymore. We closed down that base when I was there, which was actually a lot of fun. But Gary Owen was 2 miles from the DMZ. We would have patrols, or not patrols, but we'd have guard duty on the Freedom Bridge, which is the bridge in between North and South Korea, like once a month. It sucked. There was dog farms everywhere because they eat dog out there. At least they did in 2003. And the wildest thing about that is they think that the dogs are unclean if they touch the ground. So the dogs stay in cages their entire lives. And the smell from those farms is just absolutely ruthless. And when we would be going on like morning runs, because there was a guy in our platoon who ran marathons and thought it was fun for us to do like, I don't know, just 12-mile runs, every like third day. But we'd be out there running past these farms and there'd just be people falling out and puking. Like it was foul.
And how long were you in Korea?
I was there for a year.
Okay. And then where'd you go?
After Korea, I went to Fort Hood.
Okay.
Fort Cavazos now. I don't know.
Cavazos.
Yeah.
All right. So through all of this, when was your first deployment? Did you deploy as a Cav Scout?
Yeah. My first deployment was from Hood. It was November 05 to November 06.
Okay. And which country? Afghanistan, Iraq? That was
Iraq.
Afghanistan. That was Iraq. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was that first series like? That first deployment?
What
was your mindset? Yeah, what was your mindset going into that? This is your first deployment. I mean, you've been in Korea. You get a very, very little taste, right, of the enemy because you're right there on the DMZ. So now you're going into your deployment. What is that mindset like?
Well, I mean, the mindset is we're going to do some stuff, but like the reality of it is very different. Even just the war itself, a counterinsurgency versus a force-on-force battle, like all through basic and AIT, you have like these force-on-force training things where they're using like 1960s tactics where you're rolling up in a friggin' truck and everybody's like laying down fire and flanking, and like you're not really flanking insurgents. They're going to blow you up, shoot at you a bit, and then run away. So like the stuff that we were supposed to do as scouts, we did basically none of it, and we were just kind of like bootleg infantry going out, listening to mosque messages, getting blown up by HUMINT all the time. So we had this HUMINT line, which was human intelligence, and they'd call in and they'd be like, hey, there's a bomb or there's a sketchy guy over here. And 10 times out of 10, it was just some guy setting us up for an ambush. And we went out there every single time and got blown up and shot at. To me, it sucked. That whole thing sucked.
So how did your tactics change from that? I mean, while you're there, did you say, hey, what we were taught doesn't work here, right? Well,
first, I was a corporal, so it's not like I wasn't exactly like running the show out there, but it was an interesting cat and mouse game, especially through like the whole 05, 06 time, because that's when a lot of the more advanced IEDs started coming out. Like that's when EFPs started, and EFPs were terrifying. So they'd have like, and it really was just our tactics around how to defend against IEDs and what to do when you got hit by one, because it wasn't an if, it was a when. So they start out and you have just like regular Humvees, and now everything gets to be up armor Humvees, so you're not getting torn through with the shrapnel. and then they start putting these little arms out on the front because there was the IR lasers, like the ding dong for the 7-Eleven. They had those guys that would trigger the explosions. So as soon as you drove through it, the thing would go off. So we had a little arm that would break it. And then they were going to like heat-based sensors, so that if it detected the heat of the engine block, then it would go off. So then we put like a little glow plug in the front of that little thing. We had a bunch of jammers that would try and disrupt any signals to where, because they were doing it remote, basically. Like you'd be somewhere where there was a ton of traffic. They would have the thing deactivated. They would see the convoy coming. People would clear out. They'd activate it. And then whenever we would get close, it would go off. Or they would do just kind of like the remote det where they actually triggered the thing. So we would jam the signals, and then they went to more command detonated where it was like just directly triggered. And a lot of the time I was out there, I was out in Arab Jabur, which is it's in the Tigris River Valley, and it's like Vietnam out there. Can we cuss on this thing? Because I'm holding back here. I'm holding back. So
no, don't hold back.
Yeah, it's like Vietnam out there. There's like this 15-foot canal grass that's in all these canals. You can't see really anything because that's where all the vegetation is, because that's where the river is, that's where the water is. So we would just get ruined by these dudes. We got so messed up the whole time we were there. We went out there with like 6 Bradleys and 10 Humvees or some shit like that. All the Bradleys got blown up. All the trucks got blown up. We got new trucks. We lost half of those. It got to the point where like you weren't even riding in the truck if you didn't have to. You're off walking, trying to clear the thing. So like our tactics changed continuously, to wrap it all the way back around. But it was just cat and mouse the whole damn time. As soon as we did something, they did something. There was, for a while there, when you got hit, you were supposed to displace like 300 meters. So we would do that. And then they got wise that like, oh, that's what they're doing. So we'll have a small explosion. They'll cut through, and then we'll have a big explosion, or a big explosion in an ambush. And we lost like a whole truck of dudes to that because they got hit, they displaced, they all got out to check the truck because that was the guidance to get out. Like if you can still go, just push through the thing. And then once you hit that 300 meters, you get out, you check the truck, and they all did that and just fucking got cooked.
What is the primary unit of this? Is this first AD, or who's in charge of this?
So this was 4th ID.
4th ID. Okay.
Yeah.
So 4th ID is the unit. So, okay. And was this a year deployment?
Yeah.
Okay. So, don't want to get too deep into it, but how many guys did y'all lose that deployment?
I don't know the exact figure, but it was somewhere around like 10, 15. Like pretty much everybody got.
Or does that include just wounded?
Oh no, wounded is way more. Like I have a Purple Heart. I caught shrapnel in the back of my neck. Like pretty much everybody that was out there, like everybody got a CAB across the board 50 times over, got the combat action badge. But a lot of us caught shrapnel from one thing or another because we got hit with IEDs every single day that we went out. Every time we went out to the jab, we were getting hit by IEDs, we were getting hit by small arms, and we were getting hit by mortars.
Okay. So you leave there, you go back to Cavazos, Fort Hood.
Yeah.
Right. So what was when you got back to Hood, what was your kind of mindset? Did where I'm going with this is, did the Army give you any kind of downtime? Did the Army do any kind of training, kind of bring you back down? Hey, transition you back into the kind of not necessarily civilian world, but combat back to non-combat.
I mean, that was during the surge, dude. So
yeah.
You go back, you go to an auditorium, you have a bunch of paperwork to fill out, and then they're like, all right, cool, you're back. And then there's no like team of nice people who are like, here's what to expect, here's what to do, blah, blah, blah. Like there's none of that shit. It was literally, we get back, we go to the auditorium where our families are. I think we had maybe that weekend off. And which I blew like $2,500 on just booze and women. And then, because when I turned 21 in Iraq, which was some straight up bullshit, I turned 21 on Tower Guard in Iraq. So I get back, I go wild for a weekend. And then I think it was like that next week, you go to the auditorium, and it's kind of like the same out processing or the same deployment stuff. So like when we deployed, went to an auditorium, we got a fuck ton of shots, got a bunch of gear and whatever. And then when we get back, kind of same deal where you just go to a bunch of stations and they're like, all right, you're not dead. Here's a booster or something. And then we were off to the races from there.
So as KJ had pointed out, PTSD back then was kind of this unknown, and people didn't even, the military especially didn't even know how to handle it, right?
Yeah.
Didn't know the wave that was coming, right?
Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't say that it was unknown. I would say that it was unrecognized or not unrecognized in the sense that people didn't know it existed, unrecognized by the Army because they're like, well, we don't fucking know.
Right.
And I mean, even
unstudied
is also a good word for it.
Yeah. Okay. So how long were you back? And then so what happens after this? After you're back at head?
Yeah. So I reclassed in country. So we left November-ish. I think we actually ended up doing like 13 months, but we left in November sometime, and I reclassed in August because I was supposed to get out July of 07. And I was like, I don't really have any marketable skills as a scout. Like there's no transition from being like a lower enlisted scout to literally anything in the civilian world. And the Army has an agreement with the FAA that if you spend 30 months in kind of like a subset of jobs that you can test out and get this A&P license, which is what you need for working on commercial aircraft. So I was like, that's smarter than what I'm currently doing. So I do that. I get back. My platoon sergeant's real fucking salty about it. And I just kind of like, I chilled until April or something. Yeah, because then I went. God, it's been so fucking long, dude. Like it's like 25 now. I mean, I chilled for a couple months and then I went off and I did AIT again over in Eustis.
Fort Eustis, Virginia. So
Yeah.
And what was its MOS?
This is 15 Tango, Black Hawk Crew Chief.
Black Hawk. Okay. So where'd you? How long is that AIT?
6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Yeah.
There's
then I
worse
go-
places to be. I mean, you're
Yeah.
somewhat close to the beach. You
Dude.
know, there's a lot to do to go from there. You get a long weekend. You can go up to DC. You can do whatever. So
Yeah, it was all right. The crazy thing about Eustis is that's where aviation dudes also have BNOC. So that's how I learned about the 160th is I was a little bit sketchy and I hung on to my corporal rank. It wasn't a board corporal. It was like my captain gave me corporal, but I had on my orders it said corporal, on my ID it said corporal. So I was like, I'm just gonna ride this out until somebody busts me back down to specialist. So I get to Eustis and they put me up in the hotel instead of the fucking 1960s barracks. So like now I'm really not saying shit about it. Wow. So I'm not gonna fuck this up for myself. Excuse me. But in that hotel was a bunch of dudes from 160th who were going through BNOC, and like I just fell in with those guys and partied with them a lot, and kind of submitted my packet through them to go to the 160th, especially after I saw the fucking knuckle draggers in that AIT, like the kids who I would be working with on the regular. I was like, these dumbasses, I'm not doing this.
So you graduate. Did you get accepted to the 160th while you were still in school, or did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know.
So so you leave Eustis and you go this Savannah, down in Savannah, Georgia.
No, so Savannah's third bat.
Okay.
You're gonna go to. Actually, I don't know if they run Green Platoon for all of the battalions where they're actually located. I would assume they do. 'Cause you have to go through Green Platoon before you can get into the 160. So it's like a mini selection. It is, I think, 5.5, 6 weeks long. But you do a bunch of shit that sucks.
Where's that at?
That's at Fort Campbell.
Oh, Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Yeah. So first bat and second bat are at Fort Campbell. I mean, this is what's that?
The non-airborne.
Well, I guess
it's a running joke. My last duty station was Fort Bragg. So
okay. Okay.
So you go to Green Platoon. You're there for 5 weeks. How was that?
It sucked. It was the second worst thing. The first worst is SEER school, but this was second to that. But I mean, at the time, it was number one because it was the hardest thing that I ever did.
So after you graduate, then you can start getting these other schools, right? Like SEER and such.
Yeah. so you start off in maintenance whenever you're a crew chief. Then if you get selected, you go down to flights. At least that's the way that it was back when I was in. Flights was full, and flights was where you wanted to be. I've talked to some people recently that are still in, and they're like, flights is hurting for people, so pretty much anybody can go down there, which is wild to me, because it was not easy to get in. Like I spent 6 to 8 months just running. I started off on day shift, and then I moved to night shift because I was a corporal, and actually I got busted to specialist in intake because I was being a dumbass, and then I got my corporal stripes like the day that I got into the maintenance office. I was like, hey, it says corporal here. And they're like, you can just have those. And then they put me in charge of night maintenance. And then I went down to flights.
Okay. So now you're still at this point? Or were you?
Say again? I don't know if it's my network or your network that's going in and out.
I don't know. I'm on fiber. So
then it's mine because I am not on fiber.
Yeah. So are you still at Campbell at this point?
Yeah, I was at Campbell, through the rest of my tenure in the Army.
And so then did you deploy again from Campbell?
Yeah. This is where we need to be careful about
Sure.
stuff. But there was several things that I went and did out in places that were pretty wild from there.
So already having a deployment under your belt, right? So I'm sure you've got. I mean, it's a little bit of an arduous process to get to the 160s to begin with, right? So it's not like you're just getting a whole bunch of brand new, E1, E2s, right? So everybody has a little bit of experience.
That's right? Not entirely true. So
okay,
it kind of depends on the need at the time. So you won't get a lot of E1, E2s in flights. We had one or two that were like the super high speed guys that we got from maintenance, but there's a lot of people there who were, 160th as their first duty station. Like they applied and they got in, and the 160th needed people. Cause again, this was post surge, but it's still like, we still were going hot in, multiple different war zones.
But it's still pretty early on. And I mean, considering, GWAT lasted 20 years, right? So you're still fairly early on in this. So you probably have a mixed bag of some with combat experience, some without.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're getting ready to go on this next deployment. What was your mix? Did you have some? This was their first deployment?
No. I think that I was. I don't even know on any of the stuff that I went on how many. There's a process that you have to go through when you become a crew chief in order to be able to deploy. So you go through green platoon to get in. You have to get selected to go to flights, and then you have like another 8 months or so where you're going through additional training to actually be a crew chief. And then past that, there's, depending on if you're on the Lima birds or the Kilo birds, which are, direct action penetrator with all the armaments, or just like the pure pack birds, there's another set of training that you have to go through and get certified by your platoon in order to be basic mission qualified. And then past that, if you want to be in charge of things, there's a whole other set of shit that you have to do. So everybody there is just incredibly highly trained. And I think that I was one of two of like the basic mission qualified guys to go on at least the first one.
Okay. What's the standard crew size on a bird, on a Black Hawk?
4.
4. Pilot, co-pilot, crew chief, and what's the
another crew chief? So you get left and right.
Chief. Okay, cool. So you did some. How many deployments did you do?
I did several.
Several. Can you talk about any of that? Any experiences or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can. The thing that I loved about special operations is that it was basically therapy for me. Like, I know a lot of guys who got out after our Iraq deployment where we just got our asses handed to us that are in a bad way mentally because they never got to truly engage the enemy, especially because we got there right after the ROE changed after Abu Ghraib. So our hands were completely tied. We had just like the dumbest set of ROE where we were just getting fucked up. And if we lost visual contact, we couldn't get after anybody. I go into special operations and now it's high value target time with some of the best trained operators in the entire world. And we would just go in and fucking wreck shop. Like, it was just an absolute party to be on the winning side again and again and again. So, I mean, like, that was my favorite thing about that was that aspect of it. And I have on my TikTok, my Uncle Stryker Story Hour TikTok, I have a couple of special ops stories that I could cover. I could cover a couple of them, but it's going to suck compared to the recorded version because the recorded version is rehearsed and like cut together nicely.
Right, but your
But
deployments with special ops is also a little bit shorter, right? So you're not going out spending, a year in country.
yeah,
You're kind of going in and out, right?
yeah. So it is shorter. We had our own transportation to and from, so we weren't taking fucking commercial flights to Maine and then to Ireland and then to Germany and then to Kuwait and then spending a month waiting for all your shit to show up and then doing all the train up and then going out to wherever. Like there's none of that. So in this set of operations, you pack your shit up, you put it up on your own bird, you fly on that bird over to where you're going, and there's a set of time after the nose of that bird clears the back end of the aircraft. You have a certain amount of time to be up and mission ready, and 9 times out of 10 that night you're flying.
Okay.
So there's none of the cool up or the cool up, the warm up and cool down that you get with regular Army. Like it's just go every single night.
You're also not wanting for equipment either, right? I mean, you got
No.
everything you want.
Yeah, and the food, man, the food was excellent. I mean, especially coming from regular Army where you're eating those like fucking T-rats that taste like farts and cardboard. We had a snack pantry that would get refilled, once or twice a week. We had a 24-hour chow hall where we had there weren't cooks there 24 hours, but there was stuff that you could just go in there and get. We had the toys, we had the food, and that was so much better than regular Army.
Well, during part of this span that we've talked about was one of the big stories stateside was that the lack of flag vest and lack of armor for Humvees, right?
Okay.
So that was a big story during that time. But you guys never had to worry about any of that. So
Well, I mean, we didn't have armor,
right. Well, yeah.
especially in some places. Some places
Yeah.
are real high in elevation, and you need to be able to fly, so you have to strip
Sure.
off everything
Sure.
you possibly can.
Right. But I mean, flag vest, no, you didn't have to worry about nods. You didn't have to worry about weaponry. You didn't have to worry about anything. Where a lot of these guard units and reserve units were scrambling to get equipment.
Oh, I get what
That
you're saying.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you special ops didn't have to worry about any of that.
I mean,
So-
dude, you want to get the top guy, you want to get the face cards in that
Sure.
fucking deck. Like, give us what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we kind of briefly talked about it before. Your mindset going in, you're post 9/11, you see the DVD, you're gung ho, you're like, go, let's go.
Yeah.
That first deployment was the ROE still pretty restrictive? I mean, because that's early on, right?
Yeah. I mean, it kicked in like right before we got there.
Right. Okay. So you're still pretty restrictive. So what was your kind of, were you just that, hey, they did this to us, they punched us in the face, let's go kick them in the nuts? I mean,
it was wild, dude, because until we got to our first fob, so we got to fob Charlie and Al Hilla. It's a multinational fob, so there was Lithuanians, there was Canadians, there was Mongolians, there was just a bunch of people. And what you think war is not what war is. So like I get there, I'm like, yeah, let's fucking do this. And then we go on a bunch of patrols where nothing happens. Like we throw off like an MRE to a kid. Like we're doing sweat assessments. So it's like sewage, water, electricity, and trash, just in general areas. Like nothing really happened for the first couple months that we were at Fob Charlie. When we got to Fob Falcon, it was different. But Charlie was wild too, because Mongolians and Iraqis have a storied history where they hate each other. And the Mongolians weren't allowed outside of the base. They were only allowed to do tower guard. And the Mongolians kept trying to steal all of our shit. So you'd be taking a dump in the bathroom or something, and you would see, like, you'd have your rifle cocked up against the door, and you'd see a fucking Mongolian hand just like zip in and try and grab your shit. So we had to like keep positive control of all of our stuff because they were just like trying to steal everything. So like going in there, it's totally different when we get to the fob. It's completely different when we go out on the patrols initially because there's like nothing happening. So that kind of, it changed my mindset initially. when we went off to Fob Falcon and we started going out to Arab Jabur and we were just getting our shit pushed in every single day. There's a little bit of like, you know, we're here to fight against the guys who did 9/11, but you're also realizing like, dude, I'm on canal roads in the Tigris River Valley. There's one town out here that sells like moon pies and those shitty ass Miami cigarettes. Like, what are we even doing here? Like, I don't want to be in Arab Jabur. I don't want to take control of this. This is like, how is this even tactically relevant other than the fact that it's like, it's just southeast of Baghdad. So like it real quick, I was like, this is stupid.
Right. So was the Mongolian army were they very ill-equipped? I mean, or did they
I don't
just
know.
want to steal it just because they wanted American gear?
None of them spoke English. But a lot of our dudes like almost got into some pretty serious altercations with the Mongolians because they were trying to steal our shit.
So your missions with 160th, are any of those multinational?
Yes and no.
Or
So
Canadians or
there are operators whose original home country is not the US.
okay. And you probably have interpreters, right? So you
No.
probably have no.
No, I mean
Did you have to learn a language as part of being 160th?
No.
So okay.
we were just up in the air shooting shit, dude. We didn't need to talk to anybody. We just needed to put, you know, bullets and packs down range.
Okay. So kind of fast forward a little bit. What was your decision to get out?
I had a fiance, and when you're in that special operations kind of environment, you're training or you're deployed. Those are the only two things that happen the entire time you're in there. So it became like, it was a big issue because I was gone all the time. And she was like, she wanted to get married and, you know, have a family and move on from this. And I was also kind of getting burnt out just because I wanted to get out and do other things where I wasn't getting shot at, where like every day I wasn't like, is this going to be the day where I get cooked inside this friggin' helicopter? So, I mean, I was done.
Okay. So you at what point did you get out? When did you get out of the army?
I got out in 2010.
2010. And was this, how long before you got out? What was the length of time from your last mission or your last deployment? So you
A while.
A while. Okay. So you'd been out. Okay. Thinking back now, looking at, 20 years of war, right? Thinking about post 9/11, you go in and looking at it now, kind of what are your thoughts of that entire, we'll just call it the GWAT era. What are your thoughts on that?
From what perspective, I guess? Like what's
just when someone says GWAT, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the people that I served with. That's when I think about GWAT, I think about my brothers in arms. When I think about the wars, I think that they were misguided. I think a lot of that was driven by greed from contractors who wanted to just dip their hands in that government pocket. I think that we used a lot of shady intelligence to go after Saddam. I think that was Saddam that just wanted to take out. Afghanistan, like I don't even know why the fuck we went there, other than like someone was like, Bin Laden was here, so we're like, fuck, we'll go get him. But the Russians spent how long fighting the Mujahideen, like who we armed. Afghanistan is just like, it's Bedouins. It's not any sort of cohesive unit. So it's just Afghanistan was nuts. I think a lot of it was just ill-informed, and a lot of people who had money wrapped up in defense were like, I could get a lot of money, just kind of perpetuating this thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So now thinking, like we talked about before, what are some things, whether it's a, particular person you served with, a particular act, or, just some gory, funny, interesting stories that you want the world to know that you're allowed to talk about?
So there's a gory one that I can tell I think is probably, it's one of my sharpest memories. And it was from the first deployment when we were out in the Jab. So we were doing either a presence patrol or we were going out to go overnight somewhere because we had taken basically the whole troop. So there was 3 different platoons. Normally we would do like squad level patrols out in the jab. So it would be, 2-3 trucks. Actually, I think at least 4. But it wouldn't be that many. It would just be a piece of a platoon that went out. This time we took whole troop out there. And I was lead truck for my platoon. In front of us was the mortars truck, and kind of headquarters was going out. We were just driving around on these canal roads to be like, hey, we're out here. We'll fuck you up. Don't do nothing. And they did something. So there's this like S-curve road, and the mortars truck is ahead of me, and it hits the first corner of the S, and it hits this massive IED. The gunner in the truck, both of his legs get spiral broken, and he gets shot out of the turret and like over a canal. And right after it happens, shit starts cooking off, and we're not sure if it's the mortar truck. So there's a bunch of mortars in it. So we're not sure if is it the mortar truck or are we getting small arms? The medic was on my truck, and about a week before this, I had, there's context to this as to why, I took the medic and I got the fuck off the truck and I went to go help the dudes out in the mortar truck. I shouldn't have done that because I was the gunner, but about a week before this, my truck missed a turn, and I ended up in the back of a convoy watching our 6 while just this fucking shitstorm cooked off, and I wasn't able to help anybody. So I was like, I'm not doing that again. I pulled my my dismount up to get the gun. I grabbed the medic. We shoot down the side of this canal road, because all those canal roads they're built up. There's just a shit ton of gravel and dirt or whatever, but we're shooting down the left side of it because the mortar truck was on the right side. So we're trying to make sure that we didn't get hit by anything that was cooking off. And we get up to the truck. We come back up, and right up as we're getting up onto the berm, the driver for the mortar truck busts open the door for the Humvee, and I will never forget. He pulls out, he opens it with his elbow, and then he comes out and his hands are like this. And at first it looks like he has these really long rubber gloves on. But then I realize that all of the skin on both of his arms has been completely degloved. And he's just standing there with this skin hanging, and his face is fucking cooked. He looks like Freddy Krueger. So we get up there, we talk to him. The driver, or the TC of the truck came out, the truck commander comes around the side. He scoops that dude up, takes him over to where we're doing medevac. We dip across the canal. We find the dude, the gunner, whose legs are just fucking wrecked. Both of them spiral broke at the femur. We get him on the stretcher. We get him across the canal, and we get him over to the medevac. And as soon as we were going through the canal, he started saying something. And when we get over to the medevac, we lean in, and this dude is like, I can't believe you got me wet. We're like, you motherfucker. So there's a gory bit and there's a funny part. That's where his mind was. He was like, I can't believe I fucking got wet in this dirty ass Iraqi water. I'm like, we could have just left you over there, you dickhead.
But both of these guys survived?
Both of them. They both survived. One of them ended up taking his life because he was in a wheelchair. The dude who got his legs broke ended up taking his life, which is, his story is fucking real sad. And it's not it's not unique among those guys, but he didn't really heal that well. He had problems with the medication and becoming addicted, and his wife wasn't about it, and he had kids, and it ended poorly. So that's one story.
Okay. Any more?
I mean, there's a couple. I would say, just to plug my own shit, go on TikTok, look up Uncle Stryker's Story Hour. I have 150, 200. I've been telling stories on there for about 2 years now. But there's a couple of special ops ones that are pretty good. There's one called Threading the Needle that I particularly like, where when we go to do a mission, there's certain conditions that have to be true. You have to meet some things in order to go execute on the target. And while you're waiting for that, you could be at a ready room. You could be sitting on tarmac somewhere. Sometimes you have the operators with you. Sometimes you meet them there. And one mission, we were waiting for a thing to pop for a day or two. It finally pops. We end up we're going to meet the operators out there, but we beat them out to the target. So we're cooking circles in the sky. And as they're getting close, the operators over the net are like, hey, can you guys mark the target? And mark the target during the day means a smoke grenade. and I'm immediately stoked because that means that I get to throw a smoke grenade at something because I'm on the lead bird. I'm the guy on the right side to do it. So we circle back around, and it's the target is this tiny hut, dude. Like it's maybe 15 feet across. It's got a door on either side. It's got like a thatch roof, and we're going 100, 150 miles per hour ground speed. So I get the smoke grenade. I take the pin out. I lean out. I throw it. It bounces into the fucking hut. Like I hole in one this thing going over 100 miles an hour, just like 50, 60 feet up in the air. And I see it bounce in. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I look over at the other crew chief. I'm like, do you see that? He's like, that's a good goddamn shot. Everybody in the bird is losing their damn mind. And, oh, excuse me, I got to get a drink. Setting the tension. We're circling around and we hear over the net the hut's on fire. And I'm like, fuck yeah, we don't even need these dudes. Just me and a couple smoke grenades. Let's get after this. Let's do this thing. I've got this. By the time we get back around in the circle, operators have they've already cleaned up the area. They've already gotten the dudes. So like I'm flying high. Like I did this mission by myself, basically, is what I'm thinking. We get back to the compound. I talked to one of the operators. I'm like, hey, did you see that smoke grenade? That was me. He's like, yeah, about that. There was a lot of intel in that hut that we wanted to get our hands on, but you burned it. And I was like, man, it's not my fault. I have millimeter precision. You got to be more specific next time, brother. And he just he taps me on the shoulder like a disappointed dad and then walks away. But I'd do it again. It was a great shot.
I mean, you still got to give me credit for the shot. I mean,
I'm like, come on,
1 in a million. Yeah.
Hole in one. Yeah. Super wild.
All right. Any more?
Okay. There's one more. It's called the tractor. It's about a tractor. So we're doing a mission. We drop the guys off near the target. We're just basically, a lot of the time you just like burn holes in the sky, waiting for something to happen to see if they need support or they need to get picked up, this, that, or the other. And we're doing that, keeping eyes on the target. And the way it was set up was there was kind of like, there's a compound off to the north. Make sure you can see my hand. Compound off to the north. And then like a little bit to the southwest is like another little kind of shack. And they have like a little shed with some like farm tools and stuff. And as we're going around, I see a guy come out of the shack and he starts walking over towards the farm tools. He pulls the tarp off of this tractor. He hops on it and he starts pulling the tractor out. And on the front of the tractor is something that looks very much like an anti-aircraft gun. I'm like, he can't be. Is this dude fucking serious right now? And he starts coming in and going towards the target, like just not a care in the world. Didn't load the fucking thing. Didn't do anything. Like he's just coming to the parties. Like we're shooting stuff. So I'm going to come out here. So we circle around. We take care of this dude. Like he sees us coming, tries to hop on and get some shots off. But like the fucking audacity of that man will just haunt me forever. Like, what were you thinking, dude? Against two of the like most highly modified aircraft in the world. Like you see just a bunch of shit going on at this compound. He's like, let me get the old anti-aircraft gun and just scoot on over there at 3 miles an hour in broad daylight. Yeah, so that one was fucking wild.
Did you see that kind of mentality often from a lot of whether it's Iraq or Afghanistan? I mean,
it depends on where you're at.
I mean, if you think about it, if someone invades our country, right?
Yeah.
Invades the United States, we're gonna fight to the death, right?
Good fucking luck. It's good.
Yeah.
So many people have wet dreams about that.
Right. But I mean, but that's the kind of mindset, right? And we're in this country that already kicked the living shit out of Russia before, right?
Yeah.
And then here comes the United States. I want to kind of think that there was some of them out there had that same mentality, kind of. It's my country. You're not coming in here. So.
Yeah, depending on where we deployed, there was definitely kind of like a general. I really don't want to. I don't want to say general because there's different pockets, but depending on where we went, there was definitely the "fuck you" mentality where they were just gonna come after you regardless of the situation or the kind of like the stats of the whole thing. Like
there's some pockets where you were welcome, where people were just like, "Thank God you're here."
No. We weren't out there for hearts and minds. We were out there for bodies. So like there was no like going and talking to the sheikh of a town and being like, hey, what's up? You guys need some toilet paper or MREs. Like there was none of that. So they weren't. Nobody that we went to get was happy that we were there for sure. But another story on the same vein of just the wild disrespect and the audacity. We had a thing pop where we were after a guy and we knew that he was traveling between two towns. So we had basically 20 minutes to go get the guy. So we get wheels up, we go out there and we catch him probably 2 or 3 miles before the town that he's trying to go to. And in between, it's just desolation. There's desert, there's nothing. And we can see the town off in the distance. And this dude is fifth gear pinned on like an old Honda CBR 500 or 50 or whatever, like a cafe racer type, but it had like desert tires on it. So he's cooking through this thing. He sees us. And normally the way that we do vehicle stops or something is you shoot a little bit in the front. Sometimes you do, sometimes you just blow the fucking thing up. Other times you do like a strike across the bow, basically be like, hey, you should pull over. So we do strike across the bow. And this dude, like without even slowing down, he's still pinned. He turns to his left and he just gives us the finger. He gives 2 fucking helicopters armed to the teeth, just packed with operators, the fucking finger. And like over the net, like I was the second bird on that one. Over the net, I hear the pilot say, he gave us the finger. And just everybody in the bird is laughing our asses off. But you know, we ended up becoming the new proud owners of a slightly used and abused fucking cafe racer that day.
Nice. All right. Anything else you want to say? Anything you want to plug? Any of your own?
Yeah. So I have a podcast called The Veteran Check-In, where the general idea is if you're a veteran of any branch of service, you can be on the panel. So it's a panel show. The panel changes weekly just based on whoever is available. So there's a big pool of people. If you want to be part of the pool, you just reach out to me at matt@thevetcheck.org, and I'll send you the invite. We do it every 2 weeks on Fridays at 7 p.m. Mountain. So that's 6 p.m. PST. But yeah, we just filmed episode 39 on Friday. So it's on YouTube, it's on TikTok, it's on Instagram. Although the Instagram I'm kind of lazy on because Instagram fucking sucks. But yeah, that's really the only thing. That and Uncle Stryker Story Hour on all those same platforms.
Okay. All right. Well, good. All right. Well, again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate you sharing your stuff with us. I'll play the outro, and if you'll hang on for a minute.
All right.